Not in Toronto, Peel, or Windsor.
But it shouldn't be much longer. We just ask people for their patience.
Just 3 regions being held back in stage 1 as new COVID-19 cases continue to trend down. Plus,
she was a firecracker. Mom pulled no punches.
This woman's mother among more than 40 residents to die at a city-run long-term care home. Now a call for sweeping changes to ensure that doesn't happen again. And a Brampton High School teacher is caught using the N-word in class. Some students saying she got off with little more than a slap on the wrist. Good evening, I'm Mike Wise. If you live in Toronto, Brampton, Mississauga, or Windsor, you're going to have to wait a little bit longer before booking a haircut. Those areas were left out as the province gave the go-ahead for more communities to move into stage 2 of reopening later this week. Lisa Shing has the details.
It's patio season again in a lot of cities, and even more on Friday. 7 regions in Ontario will enter stage 2 of reopening. Durham, York, Halton, Haldimand, Norfolk, Niagara and Lambton, but not those in Toronto, Peel and Windsor-Essex.
All regions are doing much better, but it shouldn't be much longer. We just ask people for their patience.
The province says those regions just aren't ready.
Well, we're assessing regions constantly, but unfortunately the numbers in Windsor were still higher than we'd like to see, along with those in Toronto and Peel.
Aside from patios, stage 2 means hair and beauty salons can open. So can malls, daycares, and outdoor swimming pools and splash pads. Although there's been some concern, people still in stage 1 areas may skirt the rules and travel to one of the 24 areas with loosened restrictions. Premier Doug Ford explained the regional approach.
Up in North Bay, there was very few cases. Why are we being punished for Toronto? And I heard it from Kenora and other regions, rural areas that didn't have the cases. So we agreed.
And despite the gradual reopening, the number of new cases is trending down. Ontario saw a spike of 181 cases today, the lowest since late March.
I think part of it is the increased access to testing. So people are going for testing earlier when the symptoms just begin. And so hopefully they're isolating right away, and so there's less spread.
This announcement comes after the province allowed expanded social circles and gatherings of 10 if you're physically distanced. Up to 50 people will now be allowed at outdoor weddings and funerals. But despite these eased measures, the province is still urging the public to stay vigilant to avoid a second wave. Lisa Shing, CBC News, Toronto.
Toronto officials are calling for sweeping changes to protect residents and staff in city-owned long-term care homes. This comes after dozens of deaths in the facilities. Now, the changes could cost Toronto millions to implement. As Lauren Pelly tells us, while some welcome the proposals, they say they came too late to save the lives of many loved ones.
Singing her favorite Sinatra song is how Jane Cascanet likes to remember her mother, Phyllis Thompson.
She was a firecracker. Mom pulled no punches, and she said it like it was. She had a great sense of humor, and she was mom.
For the last 3 years, Phyllis lived at Seven Oaks Long-Term Care Home in Scarborough. In early April, the 89-year-old got COVID-19.
I was yelling into the phone and, saying, "Mom, I want to be there, but I can't. There's this virus. I'm sorry. I love you." And a half an hour later, the head nurse called to say that Mom was gone.
Phyllis was one of more than 40 residents who died at the city-run home. While only 3 municipal facilities now have positive COVID-19 cases, at one point during the pandemic, all 10 city-operated sites reported residents or staff with the virus.
Seniors, as we know, were particularly devastated by COVID-19.
Today, Mayor John Tory announced the release of new health and safety measures for all city-run homes to the tune of $14 million a year.
We'll be maintaining screening of staff, essential visitors, and residents. We will be continuing to ensure physical distancing throughout these long-term care residences.
Other proposals include maintaining mandatory masks and full access to personal protective equipment. City officials also plan to boost the number of full-time staff while limiting workers to only one location.
They need to shut down people working at multiple sites, because this is how my mother died.
Cascanet says the city's efforts are steps in the right direction, even though they come too late to save her own mother.
It's got to change. It has to change. And it's been going on for decades. But this decade needs to be the last one.
Lauren Pelly, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, Toronto police are upping the reward for anyone who can help them capture a man wanted for a playground shooting that sent 2 young girls to hospital with serious injuries. Taquan Robertson has been on the run for more than 2 years now. As Greg Ross tells us, the mother of the 2 young victims is pleading for Robertson to do the right thing.
Mr. Robertson, can you please turn yourself in?
A desperate plea from a mother looking for justice for her daughters.
You did what you did to my children and my family. It's time for you to do what you need to do and give justice and serve your time.
On June 14th, 2018, King's daughters were playing here in this park. The shooters approached from the other side of that fence. Their target was another man who was here with his daughter. He fled the scene. King's then 5-year-old daughter was hit in the abdomen by a stray bullet. Her other daughter, who was 9 at the time, was hit in the leg.
They're emotionally traumatized. At the time, my 5-year-old, she's like 7 now. She still has nightmares. She still gets scared, but with God's grace, I pray and they will be okay. But it's a long-term effect, you know?
And it certainly doesn't help that one of the 3 men alleged to be responsible for the shooting is still on the run. 25-year-old Taquan Robertson has evaded police for more than 2 years.
Taquan Robertson is wanted on a Canada-wide warrant for attempted murder, aggravated assault, and numerous firearms charges.
Police believe Robertson is still in the Toronto area, and they believe that there are people who know where he is, which is why they are upping the reward for information leading to his arrest to $75,000.
The Toronto Police is not looking for witnesses, and we're not looking for evidence to help us with this investigation. Our case is concluded, and we're ready to go to trial and charge Taquan Robertson.
Toronto police have also partnered with the BOLO program to raise awareness using social media and engagement in neighborhoods where he is most likely to be hiding based on the investigation.
Billboards and bus shelter ads are being set up in these key neighborhoods. There will also be an extensive social media campaign on Facebook.
Police also issued a stern warning today for anyone who may be helping Robertson avoid arrest.
To the family, friends, and associates of Taquan Robertson, if you are helping him, know this, that the Toronto Police will arrest and charge you with being an accessory after the fact.
Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
The province's police watchdog is looking into a multi-vehicle crash that took place in northeast Scarborough. The SIU says around 8 o'clock last night, police were following a Nissan Rogue that officers claim was speeding. A short time later, at the intersection of Markham and Shepherd, the Nissan smashed into a Ford Escape, which then hit another car. The 52-year-old driver and 20-year-old passenger in the Escape were taken to hospital with serious injuries. Police say they arrested one person. The SIU is now investigating the circumstances of the crash. And York Regional Police are looking for witnesses after a 50-year-old cyclist died after a hit-and-run accident this morning. It happened near Main Street and Highway 7 in Unionville just after 8 a.m. A passerby found the cyclist and called police. Investigators are asking witnesses or anyone who is driving in the area and who might have dash cam footage to give them a call. Police haven't yet released the victim's identity. A Brampton teacher is apologizing after using a racial slur in the classroom over a year ago. The high school teacher is now facing a reprimand by the Ontario College of Teachers, but some students are questioning tonight whether that is enough. Chris Glover has the CBC Toronto exclusive story, but first a warning, this story contains graphic language.
Fed up with what her teacher had been saying inside Brampton's Notre Dame Secondary School, on May 13, 2019, a grade 12 student recorded her English teacher, Ann Stewart.
Op-ed articles, and there was one word in it. I told Angela what word it was after, and he said, that's not even that word. But see, it is for me. Oh. But that's a hard word. Right? That's a hard word.
Shortly after Stewart telling the class how uncomfortable she is to say come, you hear the veteran teacher say how comfortable she is to say the full N-word.
I have become comfortable saying the word. I said that.
You're kidding me.
No, I said it.
I gotta go. I gotta go.
No, you have to listen.
No, miss, I gotta go. I gotta go.
But you're not listening to my explanation.
No, miss, I gotta go. I don't feel comfortable. I gotta go.
I think that the most jarring thing is the almost complete lack of compassion in the tone.
Simrit Kabra's friend is the student who recorded the audio and is heard leaving the classroom. Kabra wasn't in the room, but was disgusted hearing the racial slur spoken by a teacher in a classroom, and helped her younger friend navigate the system all the way to the Ontario College of Teachers.
I heard someone who is unapologetic about their use of terminology that is derogatory and hurtful, and unapologetic towards the students that she's supposed to nurture and help grow and help learn, which I think is the worst part of it all.
The college's investigation found the teacher was remorseful and had apologized, but her callous use of the term N-word shows disregard for the emotional safety and well-being of her students. For the misconduct, she would face admonishment.
Which, in how I understand it, is they should face kind of like a stern talking to and be told that they shouldn't say it again, which is not enough.
Kabra as disgusted by the punishment as she was by the audio recording.
I was not expecting to hear that. So
you don't even know the context.
Miss, I just don't feel comfortable right now. So I'm just gonna excuse myself.
The question of context is trying to paint it in a different light when really we should hold our teachers to a higher standard.
Stewart's lawyer said he can't comment as the case is still active. Stewart has taught for nearly 30 years. The teacher advisor on the student council has not had other complaints, the Dufferin-Peel Catholic District School Board says, but Stewart does have another blemish on her record. A previous Teachers College investigation found during the 2007-2008 school year, her relationship with 4 students crossed professional boundaries for things like letting them drive her car and dining out together. Stewart was found guilty of professional misconduct. Her punishment was a boundary violation course. Last week, Kabra and her friend posted the 2019 N-word incident, sparking a conversation with hundreds of online comments.
We posted it earlier, and no one really seemed to care.
She thinks the traction this time has to do with the international push to end anti-black racism. And so the Ontario College of Teachers says the verbal reprimand here at headquarters will be the final step in this matter. The board says that they also fully investigated this situation, but due to privacy legislation, they cannot explain the outcome of that investigation, but they do confirm that she is still a teacher at that same high school. Chris Glover, CBC News, Toronto.
Coming up after the break, meet the Toronto cyclist who is riding 46 kilometers every day to honor George Floyd, and how dozens of others joined him this weekend. Plus,
what a week we have in store when it comes to the weather. I'm meteorologist Colette Kennedy. We have some dry conditions, sunshine, and building temperatures. I have all the details coming up after the break.
Time to check on the weather forecast with meteorologist Colette Kennedy. Now, it's shaping up to be a great week, Colette, but you're going to want to get the garden sprinkler out.
It is a great week. I mean, incredible weather each day, Mike. The temperature's going up, but you're right. It's going to be a dry week. It's part of why it's so nice, but we are not going to be seeing rain really in the forecast until, at this point anyway, it's looking like about next weekend. So it's a very high UV index, about 9. It means you need these things, so sunglasses, sunscreen as well, and these temperatures are gradually going to be going up. Not only that, but the dew points, so the humidity will be gradually going up towards the end of the week. You'll start to notice it, and several days out before we get into those rainier conditions or even the risk of it. Our daytime highs today, what I will say is that in general our temperatures are running a little bit below seasonal. Now that kind of changes as soon as tomorrow. Essentially by tomorrow, temperatures get back to daytime highs about where they should be for this time of year. And high pressure is what's causing this event where we're going to see several days without any kind of rainfall. High pressure, we get sinking air. It's very stable, and it also tends to heat as that air sinks towards the surface. And this is going to be sticking around. This ridge of high pressure is going to be our guest through the week. And so as it's with us, even cloud cover becomes very difficult to come by. Might see a few clouds in the sky, some puffy clouds, fair weather stuff towards the Windsor area, a little bit towards cottage country maybe, but that is really about it. We get into just a lot of sunshine, and this is taking you through the next few days for sure. And the temperatures look like this, really comfortable tonight in terms of the overnight lows, 12 degrees into southwestern Ontario. Closer to 15 would be more seasonal. Tomorrow, there's that high UV index. And again, there's what would be seasonal. So you're kind of jumping there as soon as tomorrow into the GTA, all around the Golden Horseshoe. In fact, 10, 11 degrees, your overnight readings. And then tomorrow, it warms up a little bit. We'll see highs all around 23 to 24 degrees. And this is how it looks as we take this out a little bit and look at our 5-day forecast. So as soon as Wednesday, we're going to go up to 28 degrees. Now Thursday, 29, we might even grab 30 into Thursday. As we get towards the end of the week, you see what's happening with the temperature up to 31 for both Friday and Saturday. A few clouds in the sky as well. But with the humidity going up as well, we may get into a situation there where we start to have some heat advisories or heat warnings go into place with a few days where we're going to see some more excessive heat sticking around. And at this time, it's not till Sunday, Mike, that I'm actually putting a chance of seeing some thunderstorms coming into our forecast.
Great forecast. Thanks, Colette.
You're welcome.
The weather is brought to you by Trane, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. We test, so it runs. Take advantage of special offers now. It's hard to stop a Trane.
Every day for the past 16 days, Toronto cyclist Matthew Cuesta has been hopping on his bike at the break of dawn and riding 46 kilometers. Now, that number is significant. That's how old George Floyd was when he died at the hands of a Minneapolis police officer. Cuesta's mission is to honor Floyd and to spark more conversations around racism. Keldy Yun has more.
They were up early, making their way along Lakeshore. For Matthew Cuesta, it was day 16 of what's become a daily ritual.
We all saw what happened. It was 8 minutes and 46 seconds on his neck.
He then decided every day for 46 days he would push himself to cycle 46 kilometers or run 4.6 kilometers.
Growing up black is what my family told me. I'm Jamaican, Maltese. It affected me on a personal level just because I've been pulled over by police. I've been harassed. I've been searched.
He started using the hashtag 46forGeorge, and it took off. Cuesta's mission, to use his passion for cycling to encourage people to look inward, to reflect, and to start a conversation about racism. His motto, get uncomfortable.
I'm correlating cycling with uncomfortable thresholds. And that could be running too. It could be anything. In order to break a habit, you have to reach a pain threshold and you have to go past it to change. And it's the same in the mental space. You have to reach a point of uncomfortableness, face those questions to go past it to start understanding.
Among the cyclists who joined Cuesta yesterday, City Councillor Brad Bradford.
Racism exists here in the City of Toronto, and it's systemic. It's a part of all of our institutions. You know, the legacy of racism is something that we need to deal with, from everything top to bottom.
To start more of these conversations, Cuesta has been encouraging people to message him, and they have from across the country.
People saying, how can I do better? How can I talk to my sons who are growing up with privilege and they don't know? That's the goal, is reaching one person at a time and having a butterfly effect.
Stephen Brown, a police officer in North Bay, was drawn to Cuesta's mission because of his openness.
It starts with just opening up, having the conversation, and listening to someone and actually hearing them. If someone says to me, when I see a police officer in uniform, I feel scared, I have an option to look at them and say, well, you know what, you've got nothing to be scared of. Well, they might. I don't know what their past is. I don't know their story.
People are waking up. You can tell. We're here. We're here.
All right, guys. Kelda Yoon, CBC News, Toronto.
Say hi to your friend? You say hi to your friends?
Well, not even a global pandemic can stop this therapy dog. He's figured out how to get in a little FaceTime. You won't want to miss this next story right after the break. A global pandemic is not enough to keep Coogee, the Australian Labradoodle, away from the seniors she loves to visit. After the province issued a shutdown of long-term care homes in March, Coogee's owner and therapist at Sunnybrook's Veteran Center got creative by going virtual.
Like to see you.
You can see us.
whole pandemic, I think it's really pushed everybody to think differently.
This is Coogie. She's an 8-year-old Australian Labradoodle. Cooge, can you say hi to your friend? Can you say hi to your friends? Hey? So I would go to Sunnybrook every week and meet Jen downstairs, and she would come bring me up to the wing. We would visit, you know, in excess of sort of 20 different individuals. The vets that are there, both men and women. Average age is over 96, and they're amazing.
What you see is what you get.
When you realize how much is, because of COVID, how much is cut back up there, you know, their morning coffees, they're going downstairs to get something, none of that can happen.
We realized that the residents weren't allowed visitors, they weren't allowed to have the volunteers come in, that really their interactions were only going to be staff.
Within about a week or two, I sent Jen a note and said, what if we FaceTimed each other? Hi, Jen.
How's it going, Mo?
We are here, we're ready to go. So who are we gonna go see?
Little video visit with you, Mo, and Coogie. Coogie and Mo are on the screen here.
Hi, Georgie. We came to visit you through the screen, our little virtual visit to you.
Now, this is all very sudden and new information and new technology for the veterans, and including myself. I'm really proud of my veterans. They've really adapted well. It's been very difficult, but I think this is something different that they're allowed to see.
Oh, she's looking right at you.
Coogie's so cute.
I'm sure it's a great break for them. Well, that's our newscast for tonight. Dwight Drummond has your next local newscast tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. I'll see you back here tomorrow night at 11. Good night.